This is the case of Plessy versus Ferguson. At that time, there was a law in Louisiana that stated that there had to be separated train cars for people of color and for whites. In other words, we had a case of de jure segregation. One day, a man named Homer Adolph Plessy, who was 7/8 Caucasian, decided to sit on the whites-only car of the train. When he was asked to leave, he refused, so they moved him and arrested him for being on the wrong side of the train. After the case got to the Supreme Court through appeals, the question for the Supreme Court was, is racial segregation on trains a violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment? Well, the majority opinion written by Justice Brown upheld the Louisiana law. They based this opinion on the separate but equal doctrine. They also stated that the Equal Protection Clause allowed for segregation as long as the two facilities were equal. What did this mean for colored people, including the defendant? Well, segregation was legal as long as both trains or facilities were equal. This set precedent for more segregation laws in the South.
In the case of Dred Scott versus Stanford, Dred Scott was a slave in Missouri. Later, he moved to Illinois, a free state in the Louisiana Territory where slavery is forbidden. When he was forced back to Missouri by his owner, he tried to sue the Missouri courts for his freedom from slavery. He said that since he had residence in a free state, he was a free man. His master, however, argued that no man from African descent would ever be free. The question here is, was Dred Scott free or a slave? According to the Supreme Court Justice Taney, because of Articles 3 and 4, only a citizen of the United States could be a citizen of a state. Since African Americans weren't citizens, they couldn't use the Privileges and Immunities Clause. He also said that no African American could ever be a citizen because of this. Also, the court decided that the Missouri Compromise was unconstitutional. The result was 7-2, and McLean and Curtis both wrote the dissenting opinions. Later, this decision was superseded by the 14th and 13th Amendment.
Linda Brown is from Topeka, Kansas, and there is a Kansas law that says she must attend a segregated school. However, in Topeka, there didn't seem to be that much of an issue because the different schools were fairly equal in teacher quality, facilities, etc. The NAACP chose Linda Brown's case to test the Plessy doctrine of separate but equal. Before her case, some progress had been made in civil liberties for African Americans in education. Public higher learning institutions couldn't treat a student different solely on race, and separate but equal was ruled unacceptable in professional schools. 5 cases from Delaware, Kansas, Washington, D.C., South Carolina, and Virginia were appealed to the United States Supreme Court when none of these cases were successful in the lower courts. The Supreme Court combined these cases into a single case, which eventually became Brown v. Board. Linda Brown's case would mark the end of de jure segregation. The Warren Court, known for its judicial activism, believed a unanimous decision would have the greatest impact, so they all negotiated a broad agreement and held that Warren should write the majority opinion. The SCOTUS decision was that school segregation was unconstitutional because it violated the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. The decision in this landmark case overturned the Plessy decision. They then expected schools to be desegregated with all deliberate speed. But of course, school integration proceeded at a snail's pace in the South for a decade. During this time, in 1957, was the Little Rock Nine, in which Eisenhower sent in troops to desegregate Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. Then, in 1969, in Alexander v. Holmes County Board of Education, the SCOTUS declared that there would no longer be any delays in desegregation. To this day, there is no longer de jure segregation, and although the case helped with civil rights and the civil rights movement, there is still de facto segregation.